Hello everybody, this is Bill McFadden from TonePure.com, and in this video we're going to take a look at Ensemble Designer, and it's the sequel to Damage 2, and it's been about 10 years since they came up with this sequel, and it's packed full of amazing sounds and functionality. So when you first open up the Ensemble Designer, which is what we're going to be talking about in this video, you get the Armageddon 2 snapshot. And here's the various snapshots that you have access to. These are pre-designed snapshots. You can create your own snapshot. So you have monster ensembles, organic, taikos, ethnic, symbols, found sounds, hybrid hits, damaged hits, transitions, and the Ensemble Designer, which is where you would start to design your own preset or your own snapshot. So the one that loads up is, as I said, Armageddon 2, and it has 17 sounds. And altogether you have 732 sounds in the library. So the first sound if we go to, you can see it's the C2 is the Ensemble Master Low Bass Blast. And as I go up the scale chromatically, we see we have some sounds repeated. Low tom sticks. Now we're into the second bank. So you have these three banks. So we have the ensemble high tom sticks. And then in the third bank, starting at C4, we have mid taikos, same again. And prelis, as well as PVC. So now we have 17 sounds spread out along these from C1, or starting in C2, C3, and C4. So actually each of the banks has 12 sounds. So you could potentially have 36 different sounds in each of the banks. Now in the stage, if you'll notice, each bank has its own stage. So if I go to C2, I get the first bank stage. And once I hit, let's see. Once I hit C3, then I have the second stage, the second bank stage. And you can see each of the sounds has its own position in the stage in terms of stereo spread. And then when I go to C4, I get the third stage. And the sounds in these stages can be moved around. In the stereo field. So that's one of the features that sets this library apart, is the fact that each of the sounds has its own stereo field. And we have a total of 36 sounds, 12 times 3, that can be active in the three banks at any moment in time. So it gives you a lot of flexibility. And here's your source menu. So we have them categorized into monster ensembles. And then we have the organic. So these are your sound sources. We have the grind casas, as you can see. And then the taikos, and we have a lot of those. and some Chinese toms. Then we have some ethnic, frame drums, tombacks. We have some cymbals and gongs, which you want in any percussion library for sure. And then we have some unique sounds, dumpsters, hit with wrenches, trash cans, hit with rods, and so on. Trash lids, plastic mid buckets. And then we have some hybrid sounds. So you have to go through and listen to those to see exactly what they are. And then damage sounds. And if you click on a particular sound and you have auto on, you'll hear what it sounds like. So you can preview the sounds and you can create your own preset simply by dragging the sound into whatever key you want. Like so. And then we have transition sounds, which are basically cymbal swells. As we go down, you see a lot of swells, which work good, and reverses as well for transition sounds. And then you have a place to put your favorites. So that's your source menu. Then you have your settings. And what we have going on here is each of the sounds, each of the 732 sounds can be associated with a performance. So you can do crescendos, swells, slams, rolls, and repeats. So here you have crescendos, you have the length, the rate of the crescendo, and so on, the swells, the same kind of thing going on here. So if I pick a sound, say C2, there's no performance associated with it. And the way I can tell is you'll see one of these areas highlighted. For example, here we have a potential flam performance. So if I activate it, now you have a flam. Now here on this sound, we have potential crescendo. So if I activate it, there's your crescendo. Here's a sound with a repeat. So if I activate it, and you can assign these performances to any of the sounds that you want. You can copy and paste the parameters to any sound. So here we have another repeat sound. The source is the low toms. And if I go to the stage, you can see the low toms being highlighted for F sharp 2. So going back to the settings, if I activate it, so we have a rate of a 16th note over 4 beats. So now we have a couple of more crescendo sounds. Here's a swell. So if I activate the performance, another swell. And of course you can change the parameters. That would be 1/4. Over 1 measure. That would be over 2 measures, and so on. Here we have a roll. So if I activate that, we can increase the rate or decrease it. Now in the second bank, Each of the sounds has these performances attached to it. For example, the C3. And then if we go to source, we see the C3. By clicking on C3, we see that's the ensemble high toms being performed. And if we go to settings and activate the performance, which is a repeat, here we see the ensemble all toms, rods, and it has a repeat associated with it. So we can activate that. And we can change the parameters. Here you have a rate of 1/16 triplets. So we could go to 1/8 triplets. And we also have master effects. Now, in the master effects, you have filters, you have punish, which is a knob similar to damage, which allows you to add more saturation and compression to it, as well as an individual compressor, as well as individual saturation, as well as delay. So if I add delay, we can hear it. Bring up the level a little bit. We could add some reverb. A little more in the mix. And these are global parameters, so it'll affect all your banks. And we can take them off. Here's your cutoff. Again, it's global, it's affecting all the banks. This activates punish. This would be more intense, the hurt be plenty. It's going to add some distortion in as well. And then nightmare would be your maximum saturation, compression, and what other goodness punish does to the sound. So that was the Armageddon patch or snapshot. And if we look at the all-star presets, you can see that, well, this one has 17 sound sources. The big ensemble has 12. Symbolism has 36, which would be the maximum number of sounds that you could spread over the 3 banks, each bank having 12 sounds. So, and there's another one, and they'll take a little bit longer to load because they have that many sounds that are being loaded in. But let's take a look at just a 3 snapshot patch distributed over the 36 keys. And so the way they do that is they take a sound and put it over the first bank and take the second sound over the second bank. So let's go ahead and activate that, and you'll see what I mean. And this will give you an understanding of how the, in part, the stage works, but also the 3 banks. So let's look at the stage. So now I'm in the first bank, and remember there's just 3 sounds. So the first bank is going to contain the first sound, which you see is ensemble low taikos. So each key is using ensemble low taikos. Now the reason why this is a good thing to study is because you can go in to each key, and they usually in this particular in these snapshots, they will go through and use different performances for the keys. So that's the advantage. So here you have flam, here you have repeat, and so we can activate the repeat now. And then we have flam, we can activate that. Actually, D2 also has the flam. Here's the repeat, and you get that for 2 keys. And you have different repeats. And actually, these are activated, as you can see. So here we have the crescendo, another crescendo, and now a swell, and another swell. And notice the lengths are different. For A2, we have the 1 measure, and then we go to the 2 measure swell. Then we have a roll in B2, which is the last sound in this bank, or the same sound, but the last performance in the bank. So you have the mod wheel, which will give you dynamics. And then, of course, you have the rate, so you can. And then in the second bank, the sound we're using is the ensemble mid-taikos. And you can see we have a repeat. If we activate it, we get that. And again, you can change the length of it as well. Take the loop off. So you get 4, the length. And if we go 8, take the loop, whoops, deactivate the loop. So you get 8 hits there. And then you can change the rate. And these are tempo sensitive. So if I go and say increase the tempo, right now we're at 112. Let's do the loop, and then let's increase the tempo. See, it's gradually increasing because I'm increasing the tempo here. So they're tempo synced, which is what you would expect since we have quarter note triplets. I mean, the meaning of these has to relate to the tempo of your DAW. And then in the third bank, we're using the sound high taikos, the ensemble. And again, you see we're getting these different performances available. There's a flam activated. There's a repeat activated. And now going to the stage, notice in bank 1, first bank, everything is all the sounds are concentrated in this one spot. Bank 2 over to the left, and bank 3 over to the right. Now, one thing you can do is all of these sounds are clustered, so I can actually drag them. There are 12 sounds all clustered in that one particular spot. So I can drag them out and put them anywhere I want. Because each of these banks will have 12 sounds. So that results in 12 potential stereo spreads. And by hitting the command key, we'll actually take a sound and put it back in the center position. And by hitting the option key, I can randomly distribute all of the positions. So hit the option key, or press the option key and then click anywhere on the sound stage. Now, if you click on a sound, on a position, then you can move the particular stereo spread that you have around. And if you click outside of it, then it distributes them randomly throughout the stage. Now, when the stage is activated, you get the depth. If the stage is deactivated, they'll still have the left and right pan, positions, but everything would basically be based in the center of the stage in terms of stereo field. So these will have no effect if the stage is not activated. If I activate the stage, now notice what happens. I can send them back, make them more distant, or by dragging this one, I can make them more present. But that's only when the stage is active. So it's a good idea to keep the stage active so you have that flexibility. So this is an overall look at the Ensemble Designer and all of the various snapshots that you have, the functions of the stage, the functions of the source, how you can take a source and you can build your own preset simply by dragging it over to your key of choice. And if I want to bring it over to C3, I could bring it over to C3 like so, and so on. So that'll basically wrap up this initial look at the Ensemble Designer. And we also have the Kit Designer as well in Damage 2. And the Kit Designer will let you design your own kits. And then we have the Loop Designer, which gets into all kinds of different kinds of loops. And there are 800 some loops that are also available in the Loop Designer. And all of the three modules, the Loop Designer, the Kit Designer, and the Ensemble Designer, all use the same idea in terms of sound, stage, source, settings, and master effects. So all of these are relevant to the other two modules. So that'll wrap this overview up of the Ensemble Designer. So Bill McFadden signing off from Tone Pure Music.